Welcome to the Poisoner's Cabinet. I'm Sinead.
And I'm Nick.
And this is your weekly podcast exploring the lives of the great poisoners, macabre murders and captivating crimes from across the centuries, and creating curious cocktails inspired by the tales that we tell. And it's episode 238.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Nick.
Happy birthday.
Not your birthday.
Not my birthday.
Not my birthday.
Not your birthday.
But it is the Poisoner's Cabinet's birthday.
Happy 5 years.
5 years officially. This episode goes out on the 21st of February, 2025. And it was the 21st of February, 2020.
5 years to the day.
That episode 1 went out. Thank you for everyone who's been sending messages. Wow. We're not going to sit here and pour over 5 years together, Nick,
No,
right now. Not because we don't care or that we don't want to. We're going to do a bonus episode, a Q&A. We have put out on social media, we have a post on Patreon as well, and people can email us this weekend, so it's literally going to be very shortly after this episode comes out, but we're going to sit down together and record a big old Q&A. We're going to answer all your questions, so now is the time, if you're listening in real time, to send us questions that you want answers for. Maybe about us and the podcast, but general life questions. We welcome those.
What we can do.
Yeah, we do actually welcome some weird questions too about dilemmas and what people should do in their life, as long as it's not gross. But but if you've got things that you need help with, we'll do it. We'll be agony aunts. It's fine. We'll give you advice.
Not good ones, but
No, not good ones. Don't expect this advice to be useful. But how are you, Nick, on your 5th birthday?
I'm fine.
Maybe try and sound a bit cheerier.
Oh, sorry. I'm alright. That was good. I got some fizz.
You got some fizz.
Got some fizz.
We got some fizz on the go.
It's not my story. That's always better. I don't have to do any work. I like it.
You just get to
I
sit
just
back.
sit here and drink and go, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting.
And you will this week is very interesting.
I'm glad.
Yay, it's chaotic is what it is. Any poisonings this week?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
No poison sofas.
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
No, but you
No.
never know with
But
them.
you never know. This is
Yeah.
very true. You never do know.
That's the danger of buying sofas, people.
They're dangerous things.
No one ever tells you that. Sometimes you get the poison sofa.
Just the one that goes round.
Yeah.
Who gets it this week?
It's a rite of passage. Everyone has to have it for a week. Then you get a prize. Get a little cake.
Where's my cake? It's birthday. Where's
You
cake?
haven't had yours yet. You haven't had that. You said there's probably not been any poisoning, so you clearly haven't had the poisoning sofa.
I want cake. You mentioned cake. Where's my cake?
You're going to get cake this weekend because it's our birthday celebrations this weekend.
It's my birthday. No.
It's not your birthday. It's you know what? If you're going to throw a tantrum,
I
there'll be
want
no
cake.
cake for anyone. You will go to your room and you will think about what you've done, and you're then going to come out and apologise to all your little friends. Sorry, having a flashback to my 5th birthday party. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to set the house on fire.
Got weird there. Strangely realistic.
Well, speaking of unlocking traumas and cake, I think it's time for us to thank our delicious Patreon subscribers.
Yes, we must indeed. And this week we have such thanks to say to the Bones Mama.
Ooh. To the lost Lenore.
To the poor little orphan boy who ain't got no arsenic to his name.
Okay, this is shaping up to be a wonderful play. To Miffy Doodlebug.
To Webby.
To Aisling Quinn Fleming.
And to Mimi Grandma 2021.
Woohoo!
Thank you very much.
Thank you, delicious, sexy Patreon subscribers. Excellent names this week. That did sound like a play.
Yes.
A Victorian drama. Many things are going to happen there. We've had fun on Patreon this week. We had some train robberies.
Back to trains. I like trains.
Yeah, you do like a train
I like a
robbery.
train.
We told the first train robbery
And the last
train
train
robbery
robbery
of America, and they were wildly different.
Well, they were quite different.
They were things happened. They were very good fun. Good stories. If you want to know what the hell we're talking about, please do consider joining us on patreon.com/The Poisoner's Cabinet, where you get all the extras from this podcast. There's a new episode every week. There's bonus content. There's our book club. There's video. There's little chatting behind the scenes. It's a beautiful community and a great place if you do feel like supporting this show. Your subscriptions really, really help. We have a shout out this week as well from one of our lovely Patreon subscribers. Patreon named Someone to Carry You, Amanda. Amanda wanted to send a message to their mum and dad. Amanda wrote, I move several hours from home and they often will pick me up and drive me home for visits, and we marathon episodes of this show and laugh and debate all the cases. Amanda says, I love this show. I love my parents very much. Thank you for making this. I always play it in the background to keep my ADHD on track when I need to focus on tasks. We're delighted to give you a shout out, and to your lovely parents. If you're listening to this now, thank you so much for being wonderful fans. Thank you for binging the show. We love you endlessly too.
Absolutely.
Well, Nick, are you ready?
Oh, probably not.
To drink cocktails and talk about poison?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, to drink poison and talk about cocktails.
Maybe that.
That's quite the choice, isn't it? We've
It's my birthday.
It's your birthday. We've actually had some fizz already. We're getting through it, to be honest. I have to read words soon.
Good luck with that.
And it'll be what it is. Shall we go with the first one?
Let's do it.
Hooray, hooray, hooray. It is my story this week, and we can't possibly have a story without a cocktail in hand. As you know, dear listeners, every week we choose a secret ingredient that is inspired by the tale that we tell, and it will flavour our cocktail of the week. Nick, the secret ingredient this week is... Rome. Rome, the eternal city.
Yes.
It's
indeed.
very nice.
Now, from the image you chose, I was thinking you were going to more the ancient side of things.
Maybe.
Than the modern day Rome.
Maybe. I did choose an ancient-y symbol of
Yes.
Rome, of the Colosseum.
The
Colosseum. I mean, nothing says old Rome than that.
Yeah.
Than that.
Yes.
Maybe stuff happens in the Colosseum. Maybe it doesn't.
Maybe it does.
It doesn't.
Okay. Well, just as well I didn't go any Colosseum-based things.
Oh, you could do. You could do.
Good about I didn't.
You could do. But you didn't.
But I didn't.
You didn't.
Nope.
I mean, I have facts about the Colosseum I can throw in there. But
There are 339 bricks.
Well, no, it's actually Colosseum is named after the Colossus of Nero.
Oh.
The statue was moved near it, and when they moved all the games from the Forum into the amphitheatre, and then it became the Colosseum. No, it's not.
that's it. That's why I cut it. That's why I didn't actually include it.
But you did.
Yes.
You crowbarred it in there somehow.
I don't know. It was in my brain. It needed to come out. Well, Nick, with
Anyway.
Rome, delightful,
Yes.
delicious, beautiful Rome as the ingredient.
We're going to have
Yeah.
a Rome is burning.
Rome is burning.
Rome is burning.
Oh, how apt.
Oh.
Maybe we will reference that.
They're very good.
Oh, very good. But Rome is burning.
Rome is burning.
That's not a good sign.
Not ideal.
No, it's not ideal. Rome's lovely.
Yes.
It's got a lot of art.
Yes, it has.
Wonderful. I think it is high time for us to mount our Vespers and head into the poisonous cabinet kitchen and shake up a storm. So we'll see you in a minute.
You'll see in a bit.
And we're back.
Hello.
So, Nick,
Yes.
is Rome on fire?
Very much so.
Rome is on fire and it's in our glass. And it looks resplendently red.
Very red.
Like a flaming red sky indicating fire. Oh, it looks cool. Okay. Now, I think I might know what might be in this because you told me some of
I
it.
told you
one thing. I have to guess the rest. But let's dive in
Yes.
and see if I was right. All right. We who are about to die salute you.
We're now in Gladiator.
Cheers. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy birthday. Oh, hello.
Ooh.
Alcohol.
There's a lot going on there.
Alcohols are here. What? Okay, I know there's fizz in this.
There is fizz.
So there's sparkling wine.
There's sparkling wine.
There's fizz. Sorry, I feel like I'm going blind. There's a maraschino cherry on a stick, which looks lovely. And it's very red. So what else is happening? Okay.
Oh, there's a lot going on there.
Oh, and flavors. Flavors are many. Do you like it? What do you think?
I do like it.
I don't mind. Yeah.
I wouldn't have more than one.
Why?
No, because I can taste it's very strong.
Yes.
I know it's very strong.
Right.
I think it is. I think it's nice. I think it's complex. There's a lot
It
going
is complex.
on. I don't think I would want more than one, but I think I would enjoy the one I'm having.
Is this a riff on a spagliato?
Not really. No.
No. So it's not. So Negroni Spagliato is where you remove the gin and you put champagne or fizz in with the vermouth and the Campari. So there's something red in this. Is it Campari?
No.
Red vermouth?
It's a red vermouth, yeah.
Okay, so there's a red vermouth
But
in
quite
there.
a punchy one. It's not just a martini one. It's a bunch of mez, so it's a.
Ooh, yeah.
It's
yeah.
a.
Okay, so the spirit in this,
There is a spirit in this.
I don't know what it is. Is it gin?
No.
Is it whiskey? Rum?
No.
Something Italian?
Well, I wouldn't classically say Italian. No.
Oh, okay. Vodka?
No.
Tequila?
No.
What am I not saying? What am I not saying? So is it like a standard base spirit or is it something a bit weirder?
No, it's one it's not your everyday one, but it's certainly one we've had many times before.
Cognac.
Cognac.
Cognac. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you motherfucker. Right. Brandy. I always forget the brandy variants.
Yeah.
Oh no, cognac. No, I have to read words. Okay, so what? Like sparkling wine and cognac.
So cognac, red vermouth. There's some Peychaud's bitters in there.
Yeah.
There's a tiny bit of grenadine, which I think is more for the colour than anything.
Oh yes.
And topped up with some sparkling wine.
Yeah. I'm having trouble feeling my face at the moment.
I'm glad it's working. Do you feel on fire?
I do a bit. It's like I'm smiling a lot and I feel like the skin on my face is constricting. You know. Why? Oh, it's strong.
It's
strong. Does it work, though? That's my question.
I'm quite enjoying it, I have to say.
But you'd enjoy anything right now.
I enjoy a more oomphy cocktail.
I mean, I'll drink it. But I think that's it's a bit much. I don't know. Okay. That's very rare that I'd say that.
It is very rare that you say that.
It's very rare. I mean, it's a bit like I've wandered into a room at a party and that's a bit, I respect your choices.
But it's a bit much.
It's a bit much. It's a bit much. It's a bit bold. It's a bit modern. I don't know why. It is really I don't know why my skin is tight because of this. It's fun. Mix it up. Well, you're going to have a lovely time.
This could be a long episode, everyone, so buckle in.
I think you should anyway. You're going to have a lovely time. Well, okay, so Rome is burning.
Yeah.
Rome is on fire.
Rome is on fire. It's a light.
With it firmly in hand. You firmly in hand, marching towards the flames.
I'm enjoying that.
Me sipping it, going, I don't know. I don't think I want to.
It's not one to knock back.
No.
And it's not... I won't be having a second. But I'm enjoying that one.
Give it some time.
It's going to get me places.
Well, I'll tell you one place it's going to take you. Because with it firmly in hand, are you ready for story, Nick?
Oh, it's story time.
You did guess correctly. We are going back to ancient Rome.
It's been a while.
It has been a while because we've not gone back to Rome. Many people have requested that we go back to the crazy paving, bath-taking, sewage-moving, calendar-making Roman Empire.
Them.
Yeah. Had a few requests about Roman stories. What can we cover? Famous figures, famous tales from there. We have previously talked about the lethal Lady Locusta and also the more famous Agrippina the Younger in episode 9. That's when we last went back.
That's a long way back.
To ancient Rome. We've dabbled in ancient Rome over on PC Morris on Patreon. Just some fun stuff, things that we like to bring to it because that's the nature of PC Morris. But really diving into some of the stories in ancient Rome is a little tricky because there's a lot. Famously, there's a lot.
There's a lot
there.
going on.
It's pretty huge. It's pretty huge. Men apparently think about it all the time.
Apparently they do.
They do.
I heard that. I'm not sure the last time I thought about it was. And so when you mentioned it, then I thought about it. You said, this is the secret ingredient. Then I thought, oh, I need to think about that.
I am glad that
prior to that,
when I say things, you think about them.
Yeah, not often. Not always, but it's just how I do.
I encourage you to think about what I'm saying during this episode.
Okay.
Don't wander away.
I'm glad you told me.
But what can we, as the Poisonous Cabinet, really delve into? Because we are historical true crime. That's a thing. We love some history. We love some true crime. But the Roman Empire, there's a bit of everything in there.
Yeah, and please don't say we're doing 2,000 years of history.
Well, I'll just throw that out, shall I?
Just break it up a bit, shall we?
Break it up. Without it becoming a history lesson. Albeit it would be a great history lesson with drinking and swearing and probably not a lot of facts, but stories. That's what would happen. I did delve into the history and I did find another couple of stories of murder in ancient Rome. Actually, a poisoning story that we have not covered before, that people haven't mentioned, and it took a little bit of digging going, yeah. So essentially, this is what this episode is going to be. Matter facts about Rome. We're going to talk a little bit about a couple of famous people from Rome that everyone is sort of not just going, are you going to talk about them? Horrible things that the Romans did that they found entertaining.
Nice.
Weird medicine.
Excellent.
Plenty of poison.
Plenty of that.
We'll throw in some poison as well.
That's like a big episode.
No, it's surprisingly short.
Oh, no. You're cramming an awful lot in.
No, it's
spread it out.
There's plenty to talk about in here. Please do see this episode as that with ancient Rome, the Roman Empire, there are entire shows dedicated to the history of it, and they will only cover a chunk of history. These are our highlights. These are our favourite bits. according to what we love to talk about, it is murder, it is poison, and it is madness.
Yes, I mean the mad bits.
Yeah. If expecting a chronology of what happened every single moment of the Roman Empire, I could try. It would be...
Day by day.
I'd be crying by 10 o'clock the first day. Like, I don't know, people did things. There's a variety of sources that I've delved into. There's many, many great books. There's great university articles on it. I feel like I'm late to the party on this one as well. The great book, A Fatal Thing That Happened on the Way to the Forum, has been mentioned on many podcasts, many websites. The brilliant Emma Southern, I believe that's how you pronounce her name. She's incredible. She's a great historian. She has studied the Roman Empire and she writes her books so accessibly. They are so much fun. Definitely check out her work. Delved into her book and it was just an absolute treasure trove of stories and tales. So that is a great book. But let's start with some random facts about murder, Nick. What do you think about murder in Rome? Do you think that they were pretty tough on it?
It pretty depended who you murdered.
Okay, go ahead.
Probably if you murdered a slave, then probably not that many people are going to be that bothered. Mm-hmm. But if you murdered like a Roman citizen, then people will be more concerned. Mm-hmm. And if you murdered the emperor, that's probably more frowned upon.
Yeah, not great to murder the emperor. Yeah. But the definition of murder, though.
Oh, okay.
How would you be defining murder?
Killing someone by the taking of someone's life.
By the taking of someone's life, you would think that would be with intent.
Yes, not accidentally.
No, not accidentally. Intentionally killing someone.
Yes.
Yeah, you would think that's murder.
I would go with that.
Yes. Romans not so much.
Okay.
No. The references that we get from the great writers of the time about what murder is, and again, this is covered by Emma Southern. It's fuzzy at best. It's fuzzy at best, but. Pretty much murder is only murder if you had strong feelings about it.
Yeah, and I suppose if the family had enough cash to kick off a fuss.
Very good point, yes. If someone killed someone you knew, or a slave, like a slave is more about, property, which I'll come on to. But if you felt that someone had been murdered close to you, if you had enough money to take it to the Senate or take it to a trial or take it to what they would have called a trial, then fine, they would have all assessed it. But you literally had to have money. It wasn't like the police were walking around going, no,
absolutely.
That didn't exist. Murder is sort of like, you really wanted to murder that person. Like, you had to mean it. But it doesn't include intending to kill someone because you had to.
Okay.
So the lines get blurry there.
Yeah.
If you could argue, no, I had to kill them.
I had to kill them.
They were like, oh, well, actually has a point.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. Yeah.
They have a point there.
Steal my cow.
So they stole the cow, so you had to bash their head in.
Yep.
The earliest laws that were set down on various tablets that have been lost to time, but then we trust the writers like Cicero, like Tacitus, to kind of go, definitely this is what they said.
This is what happened.
Absolutely what they said. It's a lot about property. You can kill a slave, pretty much. Yeah. There's a lot of weird shenanigans about if you kill a slave, but if you overburden them, are you to blame for it? And should you be paying for the slave? Or was it the slave's fault for picking up that burden? And so actually you're not liable for it. Did you give that slave something dangerous to carry to someone else and you've killed that slave because you gave them something and so you're liable for the money? No one cares about the slave.
Oh God, no.
It's all about who's financially responsible for the absence of this slave. And the way slaves are treated, there's many, many documents about how horrific it is, how awful it is. There's a couple of texts that detail just how much horror you can inflict on a slave, but it is written in a way of like, just so you know about your accounting for this. Do you know about Vidius Pollio?
I can't say I do.
So, do you know what a lamprey fish is?
Yeah, aren't they like with the big scary teeth?
Yeah. So, horrifying.
And they bite onto things. Almost like a leech almost type thing.
But larger.
But much bigger.
And ancient.
Yeah.
Ancient, horrible.
Also, they make a pie.
Do they?
Lamprey pies?
I'd not heard of that.
Yes, I've heard of that. Didn't the Romans love a lamprey?
Pollio, he was a famous example because he was a very rich man. He, mover and shaker in Rome, to call it. I'm not going to go through his whole history. But he had slaves and he was entertaining one night and the emperor was there and a slave came in and dropped a crystal cup, famously. And his master was like, you get him out. He is to be punished. The slave falls to his feet and begs the emperor and says, please, I beg you, because he's going to give me to the lamprey fish. He had bread, lamprey fish just to devour the slaves.
Nice. Okay.
Literally had this
very James Bond
pool of horrible flesh-eating nightmare fish.
Did you have a bridge that went over the top that pressed a button and it went down?
Oh no, they just shoved people in. He loved it. He was like, on a pulley system, they were thrown in. Whatever happened, their slaves were being fed to the lamprey fish, and allegedly the emperor was so horrified by it, broke all the guy's crystal glasses and said, you cannot do to the slave what I have done, and had the pool filled in. And it was this whole thing about like, unjust punishment and this
is quite unjust, I feel.
This is insane, but no problem whatsoever with killing slaves willy-nilly and everything. But that was a bit much. That was a bit much.
That does seem a bit much.
A bit excessive. That's one example. It's a famous example of it, but it's really, really horrible. And of course, you have the games, the great Roman games, where people are being thrown, as I said.
Lots of people died there.
Yeah, lots of people absolutely being hurled to the lions and all these sorts of things. And audience members sometimes just like, okay, we're bored, throw them in there. What? Yeah. Killing people for fun, for sport. Poisoning, though, very bad. Very bad. Even back in some of the earliest
it's sneaky,
records.
Isn't it?
Yes, it's still
sneaky and underhand. Yeah.
Everything that we've talked about in subsequent episodes, way back from the beginning, from when we first went to ancient Rome, and we've talked about Aqua Tofana, we've talked about the Renaissance, we've talked about the Victorian era, we've talked about the affair of the poisoners, and everyone being so frightened of poisoning. But with the Romans, you had professional poisoners. We had Locusta. But everyone's still putting down on paper that poisoning, very bad. It is the worst way to kill someone because it's sneaky and underhand, clear evidence of murder, malicious forethought. Hurling someone off a cliff on a sack, well, they shouldn't have mouthed off like that.
Well, they had it coming.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, can't
and I
deny
just happened
that.
to have my sack with me.
Absolutely. We have a tale of a poisoner coming up, but first, possibly the greatest poison of them all, Nick.
Yeah.
That was also a medicine.
Okay.
It's cabbage.
Deadly cabbage.
Deadly cabbage.
Well, I like a cabbage.
Now, do you like a cabbage?
Don't mind a cabbage.
You don't mind a cabbage.
Don't mind a cabbage. Yeah. A crispy cabbage.
A crispy cabbage?
I like a yes.
How are you doing that cabbage?
So you can get like a braised cabbage. Or I quite like a red cabbage, sort of stewed down. Red cabbage, crunchy.
I like a nice shredded cabbage with a bit of bacon.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. Bit of butter, lots of butter.
Lots of butter.
Lots of butter and salt. Yeah, let's not be pious about this.
I like cabbage.
This is just an aside. This is just an aside of the various things. I was looking up poisons and medicines as well. Romans had a huge thing for cabbage.
Nice.
Did you know this?
I can't say I did.
You won't forget it after I've told you. Pliny the Elder wrote, it would be a lengthy task to list the good points of the cabbage.
And he would be right.
Not just charring and braising down with the bacon. No. Romans used it for everything. Cato the Elder, a politician, writer, and farmer, was a man who listed the many, many ways that cabbage could sort you out. And this is from the book that Emma Southern wrote.
How cabbages will sort you out.
Yeah, they will. They'll absolutely sort you out. No, they will cure you of all your ailments. Crushed up cabbage on wounds.
Yep, fair enough.
That could also sort out dislocated limbs.
Impressive.
Sores. So you basically knacker your shoulder in any situation. Someone just goes, there's some cabbage there.
Put some cabbage on there.
Lovely charred. I've charred it beautifully with some bacon. The smearing of cabbage on injured people might seem bad enough, but what about the urine of people who've eaten a lot of cabbage?
I'm sure it's worth its weight in gold.
Healing, potent stuff. You can dunk babies in it. That will keep them healthy.
You can dunk babies in it.
Inhale it to cure a cold, because the cabbage
Well, yes, good sort of clear the sinuses and things. It's
Absolutely.
Just going to get in there.
Yeah. Ladies, hover over a bowl of hot cabbage piss and it will cure your lady parts of any potential diseases.
Yes.
Yeah. Just do that. Apparently Cato had a chair that he hollowed out and made his wife sit in and then put the bowl of wee. I'm not kidding. Of cabbage wee underneath it and there's your hot piss. This will steam you clean. I don't think Gwyneth Paltrow envisaged this sort of thing, but it's ancient.
Have you tried it?
I have not tried it.
Don't mock it till you've tried it. You never know. Next time, get some cabbage pea.
I just wanted to share cabbages with you. I thought everyone who besmirches the cabbage, it has many.
The cabbage.
It has healing properties. Every time you have a wee after having a lot of cabbage, you go, hey,
Should bottle that.
That could be useful. Give it to someone you love.
Right, so your concerns sorted.
Oh no, you've just said you love a cabbage, don't you? So there were some random facts about Rome. The origins of well, that's it. It's the origins of murder and like, how murder is seen in Rome. And there's as I said, great books that go into great detail about it. Cabbages could not leave that out. But now we get into some of the figures of Rome. And we can't really talk about mad Rome in our way without talking about a certain man. Who do you think I could be leaning
Well, there's a
towards?
couple who are particularly mad.
Okay.
So Caligula, he was pretty mad.
There we go.
And
Got
Nero,
it in one.
Oh, and Nero is the other one.
He's the next one.
So, right, okay. Yeah, they were both known for being pretty mad.
Yes, and there's a third story, don't worry. But Caligula. Let's talk about Caligula. Roman emperor from AD 37 until he was stabbed a lot.
Yes.
He was stabbed a lot. Now, he's famed for his crazy antics, his crazy sexual antics as well, allegedly. There was a film. There was the film that was made that was not good with many, 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 many famous actors in it.
Yes.
Yes.
Not good.
And it's, no.
Yeah. There's a lot of shagging in that film.
There's a lot of by literal porn stars as
Yes,
well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
He did.
Helen Mirren going, woo!
So Caligula has had this reputation through the ages of being completely mental and sexually depraved and all these sorts of like crazy antics that he did. While there's some other figures through Roman history where they've tried to go, you know what, were they as bad as all of that? Everyone kind of goes with Caligula going, look, we can put a band-aid over some of this.
He was pretty mad.
But shit happened. And also, fuck it.
Also, I'm thinking, if I'm the emperor of the most powerful empire in the history of the world, I'm going, fuck it, I'm doing some weird shit.
Well, exactly, because he comes to power in AD 37.
Yeah.
He's well established. And they're like, oh, okay.
I'm going to do whatever the fuck I like.
So-
it's going to go to your head.
So a few facts, a few interesting things about Caligula for anyone who has heard of but doesn't know some of the stories behind him. Okay, his real name was Gaius. Do you know where the name Caligula comes from?
No.
It comes from the phrase for the name for little boots. So when he was little, his father was Germanicus, a person we will talk about later on. And Germanicus, powerful general, would go into battle. Little Gaius would go with him, and his family would dress him up in little uniform. And he had little tiny boots. And they are called Caligae, I think it's pronounced. But it's a little nickname for little boots. So they called him, look at you dressing up as a little thing.
Yeah,
and it could
boots.
be seen as affectionate and also complete piss take.
Yeah.
He wasn't fond of the name Caligula.
I mean, it's fine when you're a kid.
Yeah.
But as you get older, if everyone's calling you little boots,
Oh, little boots.
then it's like, I'm the fucking emperor. Shut up.
Yeah, I'm the emperor. And he carries this kind of vibe through his rule. Rumoured to have poisoned and or smothered Tiberius, his predecessor.
Yeah.
So apparently he snuck it. And the thing is, with every emperor, you can find someone who's like this sort of era in particular. It's like they definitely killed their predecessor. They stabbed them and they poisoned them and they hung them off a cliff and they made them go to sleep once. Yeah, all of that. But apparently he poisoned him, wasn't taking long enough, and he just like leapt on him with a pillow and just went, oh, died. It's like, okay, well, subtle. Why not?
Subtle.
So there was that. Then he rose to power. And then he made the sex barges.
So who doesn't love a sex barge?
Who doesn't love a sex barge? Yep, pleasure boats. And they were barge-like. Pleasure boats on Lake Nemi. And they were resplendent, these boats, covered in marble and mosaics. They were absolutely beautiful. And everyone went there to party and have the sex. Everyone had the orgies
Everyone
there.
had the jolly time.
Romans enjoy an orgy.
Yeah.
And he was the king of orgies, apparently. Now, there's lots of rumours that, his sisters went on. One of his sisters would become very famous later, Agrippina. And there was all sorts of rumours that he had had incestuous relationships with his sisters. People have sort of contested it over the years because it gets so muddied in all of the writings that on one hand, Caligula's having sex with everyone, man, woman or horse. And then later on, it's the women there having sex with their brothers and who's instigating everything. It's like, no one's to blame here. It's
all a bit muddy.
It's all a bit muddy. He did apparently, though, have sex with the wives of any men who arrived on the barge going, hey, party time.
And the emperor.
No, but yeah, he was like, because the men would come along going like, it's a sex barge. I'm here to have some sex. I don't know why I did the voice like that.
I'm here to have the sex.
The men came along, I'm here to have sex. And he was like, yes, I'll take your wife. He would go and have sex with them and then come out and give them a detailed report on how their wives performed. I have notes, sir. Allegedly, he would do that to exude his power.
His power, yeah.
Did he do that? He bloody well could, if he wanted to. Not a nice thing. Now, there's another famous rumour about Caligula. Do you want to hint at that? Nay.
Yeah. I'm assuming there's a horse involved.
Yes.
Was he the one who made his horse a senator?
So that's the rumour, that he made his horse a consul.
Yes, I wasn't sure if that was Nero or him or...
No,
yes.
it's Caligula. Apparently Caligula wanted to make... Well, the story went is that he had elected his horse as a consul. That's not true. According to many reports, it's like, then, no. Lovely, if he did. Charming. No, he loved his horsey, though. He did love his horse. He didn't make it a consul, but he allowed the horse to eat with him. The horse was allowed to dine in the chamber.
Nice.
It had its own house. It had its own servants. And if people in the street were being too loud and woke up the horsey, then the guards would go out and go, I'll kill you if you wake up the horsey again.
Brilliant.
No, he just loved the horse so much that he was very, really doting on the horse. And that was sort of channeled a bit in Gladiator 2 recently. Do you remember where one of the brothers in that tries to make the monkey a member of the Senate, as it were?
Yes.
But it's inspired allegedly by Caligula. Yeah. But it's not true that he didn't make a horse a consul, because everyone would have gone, you're mental.
No, don't think so.
But absolutely fine. Give in your private life, give your horse a house.
Exactly.
Fine. He did see himself as a god. Now, this is true of many emperors.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's not an uncommon thing, I think, back then.
Not an uncommon thing. One thing that he did is that he wanted to be worshipped as such, and he didn't think that sacrificing bulls to his name was good enough. He wanted the priests that he had hired or that he had brought into his sect, as it were, to sacrifice peacocks and flamingos.
Well, they are fancier.
They are fancier.
A lot fancier.
That's going to be noisier.
Only briefly.
And also, flamingos, yes, do that.
Kill them all.
Kill them all. Fucking hate flamingos. It's going to be a weird sight. You know, I don't agree with sacrificing any animals, but that's just going to be like that. It's just not going to be very elegant. That's my Roman Empire. I think about killing flamingos regularly. Another legend is that he sent his ships to attack the English Channel. Literally.
These are just the body of water.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So no one on the water, no boats or...
This was the legend that was perpetuated, that Caligula had his army at one point stabbing at the waves of the English Channel, absolutely hacking them to pieces. Now, historians, and I've read a couple of reports on this, historians have tried their best. They have tried their best. And what they have surmised amid the mire of misinformation or just weirdness that was reported and also written about by the writers of the time, who were just very anti-Caligula and going like, yeah, no, he totally stabbed some water for a while, was that he had a campaign to attack Britain.
Yeah.
It failed. It did not work. And then he told his soldiers to smash at the waves with their swords. It was more likely, he was saying to them, take seashells from the bed, take rocks and seashells from the water. They were gathering up seashells, which would be used to be as a sign of the spoils of war from a naval victory. So some people think he was going, no, take all these seashells to show that I was victorious. And people going, seashells are very nice, but also land and
prisoners,
heads.
Yeah.
That's the seashells, very shiny. Others tried to surmise that seashells were a kind of currency, and him saying to his soldiers and saying, well, we didn't get to Britain and you didn't get to rape and pillage, but have some seashells. Have some shells. I did try to Google a bit going, would shells have been like currency? Would they have been... Could you have traded them?
I'm sure people, if they're particularly lovely shell, I'm sure it would have been worth something. You could trade it for something. But...
It would have been something, but I genuinely don't know. And again, I did come up with, but I came up with many articles from people writing about, so this seashell business in Caligula, what the fuck? There was one, it was a really great source, I'll put it into the comments, where someone was talking about people who'd written about it over the years. This one historian tried to say, well, seashells are a bit like vaginas. So he was saying, gather up all the women and have sex with them. And it's like, that's a stretch at best.
No.
So, but many people had it that he was so angry that he'd lost the battle. He didn't invade Britain, that he had his soldiers stabbing the English Channel again and again and again.
Okay.
Which I quite like. I would do that. He killed a lot of people. He had a lot of people killed. He killed people who thought had prayed against him, because he'd had a conference with one man at one point who was so grateful that he had been made emperor. And he said, and Caligula apparently asked this man why, and he said, because I prayed that Tiberius would fall, and that you would rise to the throne, in so many words. And Caligula apparently took this as, oh my God, prayers work. Anyone who doesn't like me, kill them. Anyone who has prayed and campaigned against me, they've been praying, and maybe prayers work. So then just on one fit of pique, had very many people killed. Going, but prayers. There we are.
Okay.
Didn't like people mentioning goats around him. It was a thing.
Yeah.
People have tried to work out why.
Just didn't like. Well, they're quite noisy.
They are quite noisy.
And they bite things.
They do.
He got bitten by a small child.
I think it's because they were hairy and he was a bit bald. That was one interpretation I read.
Right, but that can be said for most things.
Didn't like goats, but you couldn't mention a goat in his presence. Yeah, but Caligula was, of course, eventually killed by his own bodyguards. He was stabbed 30 times while talking to some actors in a corridor. He was chatting to them, and people did write that it was one of his bodyguards, one of his guards, sort of led this charge. There was a lot of dislike for Caligula.
Yes.
There would be a lot of rumblings going, no, definitely stab him to death. But the person who apparently led the charge was really annoyed because Caligula kept mocking his high-pitched voice. And he apparently was talking in a really high-pitched voice, and he was there going, yeah, take that. Yeah. Mary Beard would later write in one of her books, Caligula may have been assassinated because he was a monster, but it's equally possible that he was made into a monster because he was assassinated.
Well, yeah, I mean, all these things are written by the victor, aren't they? They're written by people afterwards.
Yeah.
So perhaps he was a lovely chap. And then just someone went just mad writing this stuff afterwards.
Indeed.
About why we had to kill him. Because he was a nutter.
And that's the thing about the figures of ancient Rome, is we have these stories and we can tell them and we can enjoy them. But the historians have made it their life's work to delve into them. Make the good point is, how can we trust the records?
We know for sure.
The records that we revere, apparently, of all of the writers of Roman, Roman history, they were all on different sides.
Yeah.
They were all on different families. It doesn't just end with one emperor. An emperor is part of a line and part of a familial line or part of a faction. And that trickles through history, and people will want to rewrite history so many times. So we have Caligula as a monster, and we have some other people as a monster. But maybe that's time for a drink.
Oh, God, yes.
Nick, we have our drinks.
We do.
Should we talk of more mad Romans?
More mad craziness.
Now, you mentioned another mad Roman earlier.
There was a Nero.
Nero.
Didn't he fiddle while Rome burned?
Ah, interesting. Allegedly he did.
Yes.
Allegedly he fiddled. What did he fiddle?
I'm assuming a fiddle.
Not people.
Not people.
Not people.
I'm sure he did at some point, but at this point I think he was playing the violin.
Not the violin.
Or the fiddle.
The lyre.
That's more Roman.
Allegedly. But Nero, the great emperor Nero. Whereas Caligula is mad and crazy and a sex-crazed madman, Nero, an absolute monster.
Yes.
Named
just a bust.
The Antichrist. Absolutely portrayed as the Antichrist for reasons. People have sought to correct his history a bit. People have argued that he was actually an effective emperor. Are we trying to make him out a monster and try to caricature him too much? Certainly things were done.
Yeah.
You can land on whatever side you want to. But the legend of Nero, and some fun facts about him as well, because it would take far too long to go through the entire history of it, and then it would turn into a history podcast, not a murdery, poisony, stabby podcast. So Nero, Lucius, who was the son of Gaius Domitius and Agrippina, the younger sister of Caligula. Now, we have covered her before, as I said, in episode 9, and her antics with Locusta. Obviously, Agrippina the Younger was the wife of her uncle Claudius and former wife of Domitus, and there's a lot of incest there. There's a lot of that's what's happening. Yes. From episode 9, you can listen to the early start of Nero's life. But essentially, it was said that Agrippina plotted with the famed professional poisoner Locusta to get rid of her husband Claudius to remove his son Britannicus from the line of succession that would enable Nero to rise. Nero, who was then known as Lucius. But I'm going to refer to him as Nero in this. His life was really peppered with violence and tension from the start. If you want to do that melodramatic reading of it, he wasn't any different from any other prince of Rome or any other emperor who's coming up.
None of them had an easy life, I think.
But it's quite a sensational period of Roman history. There had been periods of like where people just died quietly and they were like, oh no, there's an emperor. That's very nice. But this is all like, oh my God, kill everyone. People made moves to rid him of his title, and he became embroiled in plots to do away with his reported enemies. So apparently Messalina, who was Claudius's first wife, so his stepfather, he was tried to have Nero strangled.
Oh.
When he was a child, about an adolescent, wanted to have him strangled to make way for Britannicus. So Britannicus was in line.
Yeah.
But Nero, Agrippina, his mother, very ambitious. So apparently Messalina sent assassins to his bedroom one night, instructed to strangle him in his sleep, to suffocate him. The assassins arrived, ready to dispatch him. But they saw a snake on his bed. And snakes are bad luck.
Yes.
And also snakes are snakes.
And also poisonous and scary and bitey.
Yeah. And they ran away. And they made quite a commotion, apparently, when they ran away. They woke up the whole household. Weren't good assassins. But they ran out of the room.
Falling over pots and things.
Smashing stuff, wrestling with a snake. Like, But when they left, Agrippina apparently went into the room, and some say it was Nero woke up. And it wasn't a snake, it was a snake's skin.
Ah.
Some say it was under his pillow, some say it was the end of his bed. And people sort of go like, with all authority, one report I read said like, a snake just slithered by and left its skin. Well, maybe, okay. But there was a snake skin and they mistook it for that. That saved his life, though, and the legend goes that Agrippina took the snake skin, had it made into a bracelet, and Nero wore it for the rest of his life. To show that, you know, he had survived this.
He had survived. Oh.
Now, Nero would rise to be emperor, age 17, in AD 54. He was older than his stepbrother Britannicus, but Britannicus was Claudius's son. He had not come of age yet, so it was right that Nero would get the laurels first, but Britannicus is always going to be a threat to him, in so many words. Britannicus helpfully died around the age of 14 because, very helpful, because Nero had employed the skills, allegedly, of Locusta to slip him some poison, slipped some toxins into his hot wine, and death followed. Some have it that Britannicus just died of natural causes. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
And then, as we've said before, Nero would go on to set up Locusta in a fine estate where she created a poisoning school. And then later on, after Nero, she would die not well.
Unpleasantly.
Not unpleasantly. Giraffes were involved, and let's not get into that again. Nero's reign is a complex one. He was handsome, apparently. Important.
Emperors have to be handsome.
They really do. Some like he was so handsome. Like, get to the actual things.
You forgive a lot if they're handsome. He murdered many people, but he was handsome.
He was handsome. He was handsome. He's very charismatic.
He was very sexy.
I don't think we can discount that. It's that, like, how did Nero get this reputation? He lowered taxes. He supported the arts. Nice. We have spoken before, as Mr. Ben Holiday has talked about on Patreon. He was very, very involved in the Olympic Games.
He was.
He was. He won all of them. He won every single thing. Yeah. He loved the arts. A lot of people talk about that he wanted to be an actor and a singer and a performer at heart. It's kind of over-romanticising things, maybe, but I don't know. I wasn't there. But also, then there's the murdering. He killed a lot of people, not just criminal, but people who were vaguely in his way. So he had his mother killed, as we've talked about, Agrippina the Younger, in a series of farcical Benny Hill-style attempts on her life, a boat that collapsed and a ceiling that fell in on her, and then he tried to poison her many times. This is all in episode 9, and then ended up just stabbing her a lot with assassins.
Yeah, just get it done in the end.
Yeah, and she famously said, "Stab me here in my womb, for this has born Nero." Words to that effect. Like, oh, dramatic. She probably just went, "Stop it."
Just went, ow!
Then this is not very nice. He divorced his first wife, Octavia, for not giving him an heir. And he had his mistress, Poppaea. He married her next. And he was able to divorce Octavia, disgraced, whatever, send her away, exile her.
But away, not dead.
Yeah, at first. Famously at first, no, he was fine. And then Poppaea, and then he was like, she's getting a lot of sympathy, Octavia, so let's accuse her of adultery, and then let's push her away even more, let's exile her even further. But then the public still seemed to like her and not Poppaea, so I'm going to send guards to kill Octavia and then cut her wrist to make it look like a suicide, but they didn't do it very well, so then they just put her in a steam room and let her steam to death. Yay!
Okay.
And then cut her head off and send it to Poppaea.
Obvious suicide.
Yeah, obvious
Classic,
suicide.
classic suicide.
Obvious suicide. All, I'm not saying it's right, but all they had to do was cut her wrist to make it look like a suicide. Apparently she fought. And then just steam her to death. They had a steam room there, and then, well, cut her head off and give it to Poppaea. It's a lovely gift. There we are.
Thank you.
It's not great for Octavia.
Not ideal.
And Poppaea did not fare better.
Yeah.
Did not fare better. And I'm really sorry to have to say this to people. It's not nice. She bore him one son, but while she was pregnant, Nero kicked her to death. Because she told him not to be a dick for a bit. Essentially, there's all sorts of like, oh, you were being a little bit loud, or you were flirting with someone, and all sorts of interpretations is that he kicked her in the stomach. He kicked her while she was pregnant. She would lose a baby. She would die. And everyone was like, no, there's some that, like, he accidentally fell into her a bit.
Really?
He flew across the room trying to kick something else.
Yes, foot first.
But he didn't beat his wife to death. That is what Nero did. Lovely man. But he was very popular with the people.
Yes. Everyone loved him for it.
Everyone loved him for it. But did he start the Great Fire of Rome? Did he fiddle while Rome burned?
Was he the one who lit Christians on fire?
Well, yes. That is where this comes from.
Yes.
He was one of the first, very famously, the persecution of the Christians.
Yes.
You have the Neronian persecution. The Great Fire of Rome burned for 6 days in 64 AD, July 64 AD. Loads of people blamed Nero because he wasn't there.
Yeah.
He wasn't in Rome. Some say he was just outside the city. Some people say he was 60 kilometers away. And there became this story that he had played the lyre that would later be turned into the fiddle, because someone obviously through history went, lyre, oh, that's difficult to write.
Yes.
Fiddle.
That's got a weird spelling.
I can't picture that right now. That he played the lyre while it burned. And some people have, again, tried to change that as in, like, he wept as he watched it and played his lyre to write a song because his feelings, like an emo kid or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, like, do something.
What is he going to do?
If he wasn't there, that's the thing. He wasn't there. He did, apparently.
He's not going to jump out there with a bucket, is he?
When he was back, he provided shelter, he provided food. He could have done fuck all, but the records were that he did provide relief. He did everything he could. The problem was, in the ashes, he did sort of go, here's all the aid that you could possibly need, and that spot there would be really great for my massive golden house.
Yes, I really want your house.
I really want to build my house there, Domus Aurea. Which he did build. And he built allegedly while the ashes were still hot, people would say. I think he waited for it to cool down, because it's not the great construction site.
It's not ideal at that point, no.
But he built a huge villa that was golden inside, gold inlaid, and a huge statue of himself inside it. It was the most grand, beautiful villa in the ashes of Rome. And that would turn into, years later, people surmising that he had set fire to Rome in order to build his house. In order to build his house.
Yeah.
Is that likely? No. But what he did do is, while building his house and shoving gold in there and going, no, totally build that, going, you know what's really to blame here? Christians.
They keep on catching fire. Just all over the place, bursting into flame.
He 100% deflected the blame to the Christians. And this became the Neronian persecution. He blamed the Christians and he started torturing them and murdering them en masse as a way of deflecting it. Total politician. Whatever happened, whatever you think that happened there, this is the result of it. And he was thorough. He was thorough in this. Burn and pillage and murder the Christians. Two of the big ones, apparently, as well. Peter and Paul. Two saints. He didn't know they were saints at the time.
They probably weren't at the time.
But he probably shouldn't have killed them. No. Peter, the first pope.
The first pope,
crucified upside down.
Yeah.
Yes. And Paul beheaded. So you don't want to do that for good PR. But yeah, and that led to him being painted as the Antichrist. And so that's where some of the bad feeling, it is felt, it is disputed over the years, but it is felt that that's why Nero is painted as this absolute
bastard.
Absolute bastard, insane, laughing while Rome burns, because that would result in him being able to blame the Christians for everything. So it was said by Tacitus, mockery of every sort was added to the Christians' death, covered with the skins of beasts. they were torn by dogs and perished, or were nailed to crosses, or were doomed to the flames and burned to serve as a nightly illumination when daylight had expired. Not nice.
Not nice. No.
This cues the various condemnation to the beasts. We've talked about it on PC Morris before, where not much else is going on. They're going, actually, burning Christians, this is a lot of fun. This is something we can watch. And that would transpire. You have the gladiatorial games, you have the games that had started many, many years before in the Forum, and then later we go to the Colosseum after Nero's reign. But killing people just became a blood sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take criminals. It was always criminals beforehand, but now Christians, great. Absolutely. We can feed them to, now, famously in the pictures, it was lions, but also bears, crocodiles.
Whatever I've got.
Rhinos, elephants, deer.
Not the most vicious of animals that I'm aware of.
I know, it's weird that they were in there. It's like, oh, that's even more tragic.
It is really.
I find that really sad. I mean, the horrible murder that's happening there. Wolves as well, and thrown to the dogs and all these sorts of things. Also, you have people being like sort of drolled out into the games and years later and putting into catapults and being put on spikes and stuff and being hurled into water from ships and go, no, you're expendable, murder's fine for entertainment. But this huge purge of the Christians started with Nero. Yes, the cult of murder, as it were, ran for a while. Well, that's a lot, isn't it?
There's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going
A lot
on.
to take in.
But I can't let it go, Nick. I can't let it go without telling you one final story.
Okay.
Nick, we've replenished our drinks.
We have.
But I have a final tale to tell you.
More stories.
More, because I went down a rabbit hole.
Okay.
And I found things.
I want to learn new things.
And I found another poisoner.
Nice.
Who is related to all of the people I've spoken about today. Nero's granddaddy. And Caligula's daddy. Germanicus. Now, do you know of Germanicus?
I know the name, but I could not say any more than that.
Oh, right, because when I said Germanicus earlier, you were like, yeah.
No, I remember we mentioned it in the previous...
No, we haven't.
I thought I've heard about it somewhere. I watched a documentary then or something. I've come across the name, but...
You saw him once in Paris.
I saw him. I've read about him in stories.
So, Germanicus is a poisoning case.
Okay.
And it's not spoken about as much as some of the other. Now, actually, if you delve into Roman history, there's loads of poisoning cases, but they're very, very short. And actually finding a meaty one is difficult. But this one was good fun. And it has a little bit of black magic in it.
Even better.
Yay! So, the poisoning of Germanicus. Now, this sparked from a dispute between Germanicus, who was a Roman general. He was a politician, he was a free man, but he was a general and he was much loved and much respected. His wife was Agrippina the Elder.
Okay.
So, different Agrippina, very important, the Elder.
Older one.
And they had a dispute with the governor of Syria, Piso, and his wife, Plancina. I don't know how else to say Piso or Piso. Piso. Because Piso just sounds like
let's go with Piso.
I'm sorry. Should have thought of that, really, shouldn't I?
Piso up the road there.
Piso up the road there. Now, this one does take place more in Syria than it does in Rome, but it gets back to Rome. Now, Germanicus, as I said, famed and prominent general. He had settled in Syria. He had quarrelled with Piso many times as he worked on various campaigns in Asia. He'd done so much work across Asia, across Africa. He'd done all this work, but he kept going back to Syria and he kept banging helmets, as it were, with Piso, who didn't wear a helmet. He was just there going, Plancina had also apparently publicly insulted Germanicus and his wife. You know, they were disparaging. They were not good friends in public. They tried to be friends, but there was a lot of nasty behind the scenes whispering, snipping and sniping at each other until AD 19. Germanicus starts to feel unwell. Oh. Not well at all. It probably has nothing to do with him travelling through foreign climates and foreign countries, for a very long time, and there's no way that he could have picked up any sort of diseases. No, that is completely discounted. And it to the benefit of us, honestly, by the historians. The historians go, well, the writers of the time going, no, it's definitely this, and I'm glad for it. As the general convalesces at his home, and his wife worries in her frenzy about what may have happened, it is rumour that Plancina, Piso's wife, has taken advice from a mysterious woman from the east.
Ooh, mysterious.
Named Martina.
That's something not overly Eastern.
Well, maybe she had another name, and they just, well, we're calling you Martina. We don't care. You've arrived. This seems hard to spell.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's the Romans.
What's your name? I call you Martin.
We're going to call you Martina. There we are. Who helped, and apparently Martina had helped to slip some poison into Germanicus's food. It was even feared that Piso may have been working under the orders of the emperor himself, Tiberius, who Caligula would succeed. Tiberius, who was fearful that Germanicus, his nephew, was more popular and more powerful than him. Ooh, gladiator vibes here. And also just Rome.
Just Roman vibes.
Just Roman vibes. You don't have to equate everything to gladiator. A search was made of Germanicus's property for signs of intrigue, of something, of nefarious deeds, and they found some. They found signs of black magic. Hidden in the walls of Germanicus's house, they found body parts and curse tablets.
Oh, that's not so good.
No, it's not so good. The body parts, never a good sign.
No, not ideal.
Do you know a curse tablet?
Well, I'm assuming some sort of evil hex on a tablet.
Just a paracetamol.
Yes.
So curse tablets are essentially scrolls of lead or pewter.
Yes.
They can be rolled up or they can be folded up. You scribbled on your curse, and the curses could be any petty grievance that you had
For sure.
that week. You could write a love spell on them as well. And then you could also use them for erotic magic.
No.
They were frequently used for erotic magic.
Who doesn't love some erotic magic?
Who doesn't? The Romans loved it.
Ah.
And then you either buried them or you put them down a well or you hid them in the house of the intended victim. And there have been curse tablets that have been found. There are many in museums, and some of them that they found are so petty. It's like, you annoyed me last week,
Yes.
and you knocked over my vase, and I curse you to the gods and back. Yours sincerely, blah, blah, blah.
You put your cart on my driveway.
It is. And then also the erotic magic and the love magic is, I love you, please notice me. Or I make that person ugly so she'll notice me more. It's all very not okay. Yeah. But lots of sort of love magic of like, please. You don't want to mix them up.
Not ideal.
Please love me. Here's a femur. I'm going to hide in your house. But in Germanicus's house, it's apparently curse tablets that are like cursing him to pain and pestilence and awful suffering with the poison that he's obviously been administered, that people say, and also these body parts. The body parts are not described. It's just body. I don't know if they had been decomposed. I don't know if it's bone, or if it's just a head or a hand or anything. And a bit of buttock, maybe. Bit of buttock. Never good to find. And on finding these items and being presented, Germanicus, dying on his bed, immediately writes to Piso and says, "We're not friends anymore."
Did that when I was 12.
I mean, maybe it's more eloquent, but it's like, we're no longer friends. We're not friends, and then he dies. Maybe he's taking the higher road of going, I renounce you as my friend. It's like, maybe you've just killed me. Plancina and Piso were apparently delighted with Germanicus's death. They showed no remorse. And that's not so good for them, because they would have to face the Senate in Rome.
Yes, there's suspicion going on here.
Yeah, suspicion, and you can't kill a Roman general.
Yeah.
And if there's rumours enough
Quite
around of poison, it's going to reach the Senate.
Yeah.
It's going to reach the various factions within that. It's not just a straight, you go to the Senate, you go to the emperor and everything. You're going to have to answer for your crimes in Rome. You're going to have to go there because it can't be ignored.
Can't be doing with that.
Yeah. So enough people have brought it to their attention. And a time when murder really isn't a crime, so it's a big deal. It is a big deal. Now, Martina was also found to be wanting. She is brought to Rome. As soon as her ship docked in Italy, she dropped dead.
Oh.
Mysterious illness, allegedly linked to the vial of poison she hid in her hair.
Nice.
that she might have taken, or maybe Piso had also slipped her some poison to shut her up. But she did.
She did.
She's not going to be talking to anyone. Now, Rome is in mourning after Germanicus' death, because he was a hero of the people. He was beloved, and Tiberius it's not doing him any favours, because he's feeling like, okay, they really loved him, and now people are sort of whispering that I might be complicit in the plot. Germanicus has a huge funeral, huge. Everyone gushed about how wonderful he was, including Tiberius did a long speech.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Where everyone's going, really? At the pyre as well, Germanicus' heart did not burn. It was said, clear sign of poison. Clear sign. And Tiberius was like, well, Piso must answer for these allegations absolutely before the Senate. Get in there.
Blame someone else and not me.
Yeah, him just going, you stupid bastard, you were supposed to cover this up. Now, Piso arrives at the Senate and he is accused of insubordination, corruption, abandoning and re-entering a province, summary justice. That's just like an admin term. I'm not going to judge the Romans. They built roads. Destroying military discipline, misusing the emperor's money, in so many words, fomenting civil war and sacrilege, and using black magic and poison to dispatch Germanicus. Now, that was a term that was used later by the writers, saying, like, that's what they did. Apparently, he gave him poison at a dinner party in front of lots of witnesses, and no one said a thing. It is entirely possible that Germanicus had simply caught an illness from his travels.
Well, yeah.
He might have caught malaria or been bitten by anything and been slowly expiring from a completely explicable poison.
Yes.
From a natural source.
Natural, yes.
Yes. But who wants to believe that?
Exactly, that's dull. No one wants to believe that.
Natural causes. From the book A Fatal Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, Piso himself offered up all the people enslaved to him to be tortured as witnesses to his innocence.
Right, how generous he is.
So nice. No, they said, no, we don't want that.
It's all right.
And we're Romans. We'll take any torturing usually, but no. Piso would die.
Oh.
Because he killed himself.
Oh, guilty gone.
He committed suicide. He slit his own throat with his sword. A lot of people go, was he bumped off? Did Tiberius send someone in to stop tongues wagging? Plancina was released following pressure from Tiberius's mother, who was a good friend of hers. She said, let her go. As soon as Livia died, Plancina would take her own life in 33 AD.
Not protected anymore.
No, because Tiberius was going to have another go at her. So that is the story of the poisoning of Germanicus. Plots within plots in ancient Rome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and it all comes full circle of Germanicus. He would bear Caligula.
Yeah.
And he would later result.
I also know about Martine.
And Martina.
Yes, the secret poisoner from the East.
The secret poisoner from the East. Well, she's mentioned in that text in some of the reports there. There's a couple of others as well, but they're written about in poems and they're written about in these very flowery sort of stories that could you actually turn around and say, I mean, any of it, really any Roman history, can you turn around and say, this definitely happened?
Yeah.
But we take it as, okay, sure, why not?
Why not?
Why not? Enough people have written about it and it's been around for long enough. But Martina.
Yeah, who knows?
Yes, she supplied the poison that may have killed Germanicus. Yes. Who sired many crazy men.
Crazy people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there you go. That is our little jaunt into the Roman Empire.
That's a whole host of Roman history going on. It's like a jaunt through the centuries.
And that's scratching the surface.
Well, indeed, yeah.
It's scratching the surface.
There's a lot more going on there.
So, what do you think, Nick? Talk for a bit.
No, I mean, that was I don't know the period particularly well. I know the names. I know some of the famous stories. Difficult to know what's real and what's not, isn't it? Because it's so...
Yeah, it's a good point.
It's everything written 200, 300 years later on stories that your enemies have told. The people who really didn't like you have told.
Yeah.
So, of course, you're going to be a crazy bastard and do horrendous things. And they probably both did horrendous things. Because why the fuck wouldn't you? I can see that absolute power goes to your head. Absolute power, but they say absolute power corrupts absolutely, so it's going to go to your head, isn't it? If you can do whatever the fuck you want with be damned the consequences.
Well, pretty much. Yeah. There was really no consequences.
Yeah, exactly. I can kill anyone I want to, and no one is going to say anything. So
if you have money. If you have money.
I mean, if you're the emperor, if you're Caligula or Nero or something like that, you can do what the fuck you like.
I mean, that continued for centuries, really, didn't it? Same thing, like, we can actually kill people and no one will be bothered. Yeah, the real is what's not is an interesting one looking at it, because I think more so now there's a lot of writing and there's a lot of books that are brilliant about translating the writers of the time. However, they do acknowledge, like, is any of this true?
Yeah.
This is massively biased. This is all strange.
Completely.
We're presented with these facts.
Absolutely.
We are only... and are they facts? We're presented with
These
the stories. We're presented with the stories. We can recount them.
Yeah.
They have been taken for a long time as kind of like, oh my God, they're absolutely fact.
Yeah.
We could say the same thing about a lot of the Victorians.
Well, quite, absolutely.
We can say a lot of things about like modern history as well. Like, oh yeah, whoever wrote about them, how biased were they?
Yeah. I mean, we know from modern, not even modern experience, but Victorians, when you look at the Penny Dreadfuls and things like that, and then you could actually see the police reports of the same thing, and it's like, well, you've got a bit overboard, haven't you? In your paper, in your newspaper, you've got a bit carried away in your descriptions and things. And we've read out newspaper articles and stuff, which is just amazingly written and fantastical. And there's no reason why that didn't happen 3,000 years ago.
100%.
So all of this stuff is going to be overblown and dramatised to the nth degree.
I think that's the most important thing.
Take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah,
but they're great stories.
Exactly.
So.
We're taking sources of the time. Take it with a pinch of salt. Everything. It's fun.
But it is fun.
Fill your boots. But yeah, Caligula, crazy.
Weird film.
Don't watch Caligula.
No, it's awful.
Should you? It's not right.
It's not right.
It ain't right.
No,
it is. I mean, kind of watch it as an example of exploitation in film.
You can watch it without the rude bits, because obviously originally it was done. It was cut without the random porn insertions.
I think to watch it now, or to a completely fresh audience who had never seen it before, trigger warnings.
Yeah,
trigger warnings.
There's a lot going on
in there, but it was a piece of time, piece of history.
It was a piece of history, absolutely. Yeah,
it's interesting. But what do you think, people? What do you think about a little jaunt into the Roman Empire, Roman history, taking little bits of stories that we love and enjoy, and stories of poisoners? Are there bits of Roman history that you would love us to cover in future? Maybe over on Patreon, to dive deeper into little history stories, or just madness that you quite enjoyed. Do you think Nero has been unfairly represented?
Was he just misunderstood?
Was he misunderstood? Was he a misunderstood actor?
He was a lovely chap, and he was just he's just a frustrated performer.
Yeah.
And they're dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Or was he a wife-beating shit? Yeah. Who let Rome burn and just went, ha, 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 ha. I mean, that didn't happen.
I can build
but also,
now.
Oh, yeah, let's burn Christians. Blame them. I mean, Caligula. Mental,
just
mental. Not nice as well. Murdered so many people, but just to the point where it became exhausting for many historians to document it, going, okay, well, he did this and he did this. It's a lot, Caligula. Calm the shit down. Germanicus, who was painted as like, oh, what a noble man, killed a lot of people, and just like, I don't like you, I'm going to poison you and put feet in your house with curse tablets. I'm assuming those are the body parts. Yes. Tell us what you think. Jump on the comments of this episode. Share your thoughts, your feelings, your musings. But most importantly, do mix up A Rome is Burning.
Yeah, yes, it's dangerous.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I don't know what it is, Nick.
Yeah. If you've managed to get through the past half an hour of this episode, then you know it's a lot.
Mix it up. Tell us what you think. If you're listening in real time, you can still send us stories for our Q&A this weekend, but also send us suggestions of more stories we can be covering in the future. Join us on Patreon if you want to support the show, and please leave us a review on Apple iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts, because it helps us so much. Thanks for listening, guys. We have been the people inside the Poisoner's Cabinet. We will see you next week. And remember, your loved ones are trying to kill you.
Bye.